All right. So once again, it's easy to expose how individuals around the world who have filled up the cup of the indignation and the judgments of God, who all want to scramble and extend. There's no extending the life of your nation, your kindred, your tongue, and people once the handwriting is on the wall. Once the handwriting is on the wall. Once probation is over with. When you on death row and then your name is called. You may have spent 20, you may have spent 40 years playing around on death row. But when your nation's name is called, Joe Biden, you've been playing around in the halls of Congress like y'all been playing around. Y'all been playing around with that fake United, hiding behind that fake U.S. Constitution. We on covenant. Don't nobody care nothing about your fake little stinking contract you done made with some backwoods made up $5 Indian somewhere. To extend the dark ages all over the world. You got these individuals who all claim this enlightenment and this all of this and all that, and all of their economies. I don't care if it's India, I don't care if it's China, I don't care if it's Russia, I don't care if it's the UK, I don't care if it's Italy. Every last one of these cesspool countries of these fake Europeans with their supposed sophistication, and listen, every last one of them. The only ones that still got money right now today is the individuals who still extracting blood money from colonialism in the West. And you allowing them to do it off of some Hollywood. They just keep re-releasing new Hollywood movies and new Hollywood shows, telling the same old lies that they've been telling so they can still extract what? We about to show you some. Let me show you who has always owned the United States of America. Let me show you who has always owned the United States of America. Mhm. All right. So what I'm about to show you is the true heirs to the land in the United States of America. My family is called the Franks. My family is called the Franks. And they tried to erase our people and claim that some Indians that they enslaved were the people that's here. So I'm going to show you, not only am I going to show you I'm also going to prove that every European person living here today owes reparations. Every one of you Africans, Pan-Africans, any of you individuals who try and come over here from islands and have parades and pride days and try and get into the front of the line. All of y'all is guilty of violation. Unless your ancestors came from islands and was standing side by side with my ancestors that I'm about to show you in these battles. If your ancestors came later on some boats from some islands, I don't care if you Seventh Day Adventist. I don't care I don't care who you from, where you are, who you are. I'm about to show you in the United States of America, there's no such thing as an Indian. An Indian, Native Indians are actually East Indians. Was East Indian Gandhi, who came and took over Gandhi's nation, the British. Was the British Europeans, or was Gandhi's people dark skinned East Indians? What happens when British Europeans sleep with peoples whose land they trying to take? Yeah, there's a certain type of offspring that happens, right? Just like Gandhi was there before the British was there, right? But somehow in the United States of America, this supposed native presence, you don't have no nation, kindred, tongue, and people anywhere on the earth without the bedrock and the foundation of Kush. And they tried to erase the fact that Kush dominates and owns the United States of America. And all of y'all got to pay the toll. All of y'all got to pay the reparations for being accomplices to the Europeans and the Africans who wanted to take the inheritance from Kush and couldn't. I'm gonna go play side by side. Okay, so this says we often look at the settlers of New England as religious, pious, and peaceful people. We mythologize the first Thanksgiving and the relationship between the Pilgrims and the Native Americans. Yet this video on the Pequot War, now understand, this is another brand name that the Europeans are calling. The Europeans don't get to name the people of whose lands they trying to take. That concept, that is your problem, European. That is another construct of Aryan white supremacy, where you believe that you have the authority to name things, and you don't have no authority. You're just another thief, another pervert, another vagabond, another rebel. That's it. There's nothing special about Europe. Never has been, never will be. Your schools ain't never been special. Your churches ain't never been special. Your Bibles ain't never been special. Daniel chapter 12 says, seal it the book of the law until the time of the end. So, whatever book you came with, you lied to yourself. All of you European, Western, Greek philosophies, the Greek and the Romans they are the dumbest civilizations that the world has ever seen. the dumbest, the absolute most ignorant two nations the world has ever seen is Greece and Rome. Proof? You do you come on, proof. Let's go proof. Proof. When the Babylonians ran the world, the 12 wonders of the world was created in the 10 kingdoms that the Babylonian kingdoms created. Then when the Egyptians built kingdoms along a Nile River that was fruitful. When Rome was at its peak, what did Rome do? Moved into Egypt and renamed Egypt. What? Julius Caesar moved down into Egypt. If you're a great civilization, why is you moving into the trash of our old civilization? Y'all let Europeans tell the world that the European world is where? When? What nation did Julius Caesar, we all know the story, moved down into Egypt and married Cleopatra? They don't even want the European women. So then y'all gonna tell the world that Egypt is European. Cause the Romans can't build nothing. The Romans didn't come up with no type of knowledge, no type of nothing. No educational system, nothing. So what did they do? They create something called Hellenism, where they whitewash, where they erase the original history, and they put a European history. Same thing with Greece. Greece did it first. Alexander's supposed to be so great. Alexander's supposed to be so great. So why isn't there some great European metropolis, some great, because it's nothing in Europe. Europe is nothing. Alexander went to what? Egypt. He called the city Alexandria. And then Julius Caesar moved in on top of his scraps. And what are the offspring of those two nations, Greece and Rome? Every European nation. Every worthless European nation that done ran around the world talking about Aryan white supremacy, talking about they the fashion icons of the world. Where? Then you got Asians trying to follow these clowns. And so look at China, look at Japan, look third world countries. Cause you following some ignoramuses. Third world countries, third world. Yeah, China got all these people. China, listen, man. China let the British sell them communism, and then they ignorant communist clown leader told them they could have one child for dang near 70 years. They got a nation full of old perverted men. Old perverted men. And when you're an old perverted man that looks up to European perverted men, you live in the same nasty perverted lifestyle that the Europeans live. China ain't no threat to. China is controlled by the British. Japan is controlled by the British. The same place that England is going is the same place that China and Japan is going. The toilet. And y'all all gonna pay reparations for trying to take these lands from our ancestors and then telling the story. And now when we've weathered the storm, we outnumber the Chinese. We outnumber the Europeans in the United States of America. We don't need none of the Africans. We don't need nobody in the Caribbean. If our people want to stop, if our people want to play the game like China, if y'all want to be Europeans, they can have y'all niggas in the islands too. When you ain't got a sense enough to know that the British, we ran them the hell out of the United States of America. And then they ran over into India. They got some Indian niggas. And then they came down to Suriname. And they came down to Guyana. And they came down to all of your little islands. And then you ain't got the sense enough to hold niggas accountable for talking about their emancipation and slavery is over. But the United States of America, we told them to get the hell up out of here. They didn't they didn't skip not one beat. Them British, them Catholics, them Italians, them Scottish, listen, man, you can play these games with these, man, especially the Spanish. You could play these games with these Spanish, Roman Catholic witches and warlocks. You could play the game with them if y'all want to. This is Kush reparations. This is Kush reparations. This is Kush therapy. This is Kush rehab. This is Kush inheritance. This is Kush thrones, kings, queens, princes, and princesses. You violated Kush, and you will pay back double for everything you tried to take. We mythologize the first Thanksgiving and the relationship between the Pilgrims and the Native Americans and Kush. Ain't no Native Americans. Yet this video on the Kush war tells a very different story. Why do you believe we are so quick to forget this important part of history? of Puritan settlers, that's the British, and they embrace the mythology that we learned in grade school of the peaceful and freedom-seeking pilgrims. Do you know why they taught you that the pilgrims were peaceful? Because they could not sell you the North and the South without selling you that the pilgrims from the North or the Union was God-fearing, fought for the people. No. Every single European colony that came over here was a evil, diabolical, wicked, satanic European pirate. The British, the French, the Dutch, every one of the 13 colonies was founded by a different one of those European pirates, and the British were the worst of them all. This question will appear again at the end of this video.
By 1637, the tensions in New England between the English settlers and the Pequot tribe were about to erupt into armed conflict.
Huh? 1637? Once again, I'm going to tell you again. Ain't no Pequot tribe. Do I look like an Indian to you? Everybody who lived on the East Coast, who was here before these British Puritan settlers came in the 1600s, looked just like me. Wasn't no Indians, wasn't carving no totem poles, ain't had no peace pipes. We had gold, still got it. We are the kings that Revelation 12 speaks of the kings and queens who would control the land that would be out of the reach of the dragon and his children. The British, the Puritans, I don't know why y'all don't understand that Roman Catholicism, your European killing of the Messiah, the judgment was to separate the ignorant fools who wanted to build a church on the blood of the same Messiah that they killed. God said, I'll send my bride to a place prepared for her, to a wilderness place prepared for her, the United States of America, He said, my bride. So all of those years of church going in the West, in the East, all of the thousands of mosques and temples and in Jerusalem and all over, none of it is the bride of God. Everybody was wasting their time. That's what the word of God says. First Daniel says, seal it the book of the law until the time of the end. And God said, I'll send my bride into a place prepared for her by God, out of the reach of the dragon. So all of those worship systems in the East has been a waste of time. A spiritual waste of time. Daniel is 500 years before the Messiah was even born. Any and every church, cathedral, temple, shrine, mosque, church, whatever, anywhere in the world from 500 years before Jesus was born until 1798, no matter what you've been told, Revelation 12 says, not near one of those worship systems, churches, temples, mosques, they all were filled with Satan. Because he said he only has one bride. And he said, I will send my bride into a wilderness place prepared for her, prepared by God. Out of the reach of the dragon for 1,260 years. And he put a time frame on it. Huh? So when a Roman Catholic Church creates a system of churches, when Protestants claim to protest and they created a series of Protestant churches, does that qualify as his bride? It's impossible. He said, I'll send my bride to a place prepared for her, out of the reach of the dragon for 1,260 years. So if your church denomination came up in the period during those 1,260 years, how could your church when God said that he already took his bride and sent his bride and protected his bride in a secret place? He don't have multiple brides. So the concept of these U.S. founding fathers being of God, that is destroyed by Revelation chapter 12. And this is why they did this, because this is who they really are. And this is why this ain't in your history books.
In May of that year, the Puritan leaders decided they must take bold action. The decision to attack the Pequots was predetermined, was well calculated. The English authorities in Plymouth and in Boston and Connecticut intended to make an example of the Pequots. The attack was planned by the English to be a massacre.
Huh? Okay.
The decision to attack the Pequots was predetermined, was well calculated.
Now look. See how they. So the European, because they control these $5 Indians, and they don't control us. So their game is to never acknowledge the truth. Because if they try not to acknowledge the truth, that they wasn't dealing with these individuals, what we know and what you should know is that when they lost this battle, which they did, just like every other battle that they lost to us, that means we've never lost control of the lands that God gave us. Our birthright ownership to these estates is above their fake constitution. Why? Because they lost the battle. Then they wrote treaties with the allies that they tried to recruit, who also lost. So if they wrote a treaty called the U.S. Constitution with another group of losers, these are two losers writing a U.S. Constitution, faking like they got authority over the people that live in this land. Now, if you are a European slave, they may own you, but we won the battle. And my ancestors ain't no Indians. My ancestors is Kush. And just like every other nation, kindred, tongue, and people, people that they call Indians, they are the offspring of Cush. They came from us, yes.
The English authorities of Plymouth and Boston in Connecticut.
Plymouth, Boston, Connecticut. These are all British colonies.
Intended to make an example of the Pequots.
Why do they want to make an example of our people in this region? Because it's so many of us. We control the Northeast. We control the Southeast. We control the Northwest, the Southwest. But the British wanted this Northeast corner. And the kings that control that land are my ancestors. And if the British want it, they're going to have to try and take it, and they couldn't.
The attack was planned by the English to be a massacre. The English purposely sailed their ships by Pequot country to let the Pequots think that they were sailing away. The English secretly landed in territory controlled by the Narragansett tribe, then marched overland toward Pequot country.
All right. So, just like the FBI with COINTELPRO, just like the police, they'll use gang members against gang members in the same neighborhood. They'll pit one group against the next group. And this is exactly what the British did. They acted like they were sailing away, and they sailed further up and inland, found another group of individuals, envious and jealous of the fact that our ancestors were the kings and queens of the best real estate, of the best watering holes, everything. And you know how Europeans do. And you know how black sellout clowns do. For a right price, so they hire this is why you call them $5 Indians. They hire some of our own people to sneak up from behind because they want to massacre and send a message that they now own the best land in the northeast coast of the United States of America.
Along the way, they picked up several hundred native allies from the Narragansett and Mohegan tribes. It's surprising that you have Indians who will ally with the English against other Indian groups. That's one thing that people often don't know about these conflicts. We think that it's Indians pitted against Europeans, but it's much more complicated than that. The Pequot relationship with neighboring tribes is very complex. Some tribes they were at war with, some they were allied with, some they subjugated. Prior to the attack on the Pequots, the leader of the Narragansett forces had told them that he would like for them to spare the women and children as Indian people usually did in their warfare. The English obviously agreed to this, or they wouldn't have gotten the participation of the Narragansetts and Mohegans. Traditional native warfare was very different than what you see in the
So here the European go trying to sell us that these natives got some conscience or moral. Listen, Judas, a sellout is a sellout. A rat is a rat. Anybody that is willing to work with the European, you're a rat. You're not about to try and sell us that, they were so concerned about the women and they rats. Just like every other bottom feeding black sellout rat coon that's willing to do the dirty work of the underworld. They could care listen, man. This is how Europeans be trying to spin the history books. Then they turn around and they gonna give casinos to these so-called well-wishing native Indians, these rats. Man, get out of here, yo.
Indian people, Mohican Indian people, Narragansett people, none of them had any idea what they were getting into. May 26, 1637.
You see how the Europeans do this, yo? They knew nothing of what they listen. If you know nothing of what you're getting into, then you don't get into it. If you that ignorant, this how stupid white people really think you still are. They think they could tell their stories and just make it just sound so. Listen, man. The niggas working with the Europeans are straight rats. There's nothing redeemable about not near one of the Europeans. So if you working with them, you got the same qualities. Birds of a feather flock together. There is no moral fiber in none of these niggas.
In almost complete darkness, just before dawn, the English forces and their native allies, commanded by John Underhill and John Mason, quietly prepared to attack the Pequot fort at Mystic. Inside, hundreds of men, women, and children lay sleeping, about 1/3 of the entire Pequot tribe.
Remember that. Remember that. It's only 1/3. That means that's only 30%. That's only 30%. So the other 70% is at some other fortification, maybe out to sea. Understand, the hundreds and hundreds and hundreds that were in the compound was only 1/3. That's 30%. So even if you slaughtered 30%, that's nowhere near the majority. Even if you caught everybody by surprise and everybody died, that's still not a victory because that's only 30%.
You had a circular palisade, a wall that was built by tree stumps laid in a circle and pointing upwards and sharpened at the top. And that had two entrances at each side of the circle where the walls kind of overlapped each other and there'd be just a space wide enough for a person to get through. The English troops rose and they commended themselves to God.
They rose and they commanded themselves to God. And understand that the God that they serve is Satan. Yesterday, today, and forever. The God that they serve is Satan.
And then they moved toward this palisade. What they counted on more than anything was the element of surprise. If they could get in without being detected, they could achieve their goal of killing the inhabitants and taking away whatever spoils there were for themselves. Mason divided the forces up and they went to the two entrances and they found that the Indians had covered them with brush. They pulled the brush out of the way and they went inside and started entering wigwams and slashing whatever was there. What was there, of course, were women and children and men. They met very stiff resistance from people and workers. John Mason felt that the resistance was too fierce. And he realized that they could not kill everybody by hand-to-hand fighting.
The British, King James Bible having, John, number one, knew that they couldn't defeat our people straight up with hand-to-hand combat. And that's only 1/3. That's only 1/3. By their own admission, they couldn't defeat the 1/3.
So he ran inside, he got a torch, one of the fires, and he came out and he yelled, "We must burn them." The English intent was not originally to burn the fort because they wanted to save the plunder. But Underhill and Mason some professional soldiers. They must have had Plan B. That plan was to set fire to the fort, retreat outside the fort to prevent anyone from escaping. The Englishmen ran outside, and the Indians had a choice to make. Stay and die a death under fire, or try to get out. Those that tried to get out were either killed by the English, and if they got through that line behind them, there was a line of Mohicans who finished the rest off. It was horrible. The English themselves described this battle in very frightening terms. The destruction, the burning, the killing. There were so many people lying on the ground, Pequot men, women, and children, that the English couldn't even walk without stepping on bodies. The scene was so shocking that even some of the English began to ask if, as Christians, they ought to show some mercy. But Captain Underhill pointed to the Old Testament and said that God wanted those who were sinners, heathen, to suffer, he said, the terriblest death that may be, and that the innocent needed to suffer along with the guilty. The massacre at Mystic took only 1 hour. 1 hour to kill hundreds and hundreds of Pequot men, women, and children. It was far from over, as tribe members who were living nearby were about to find out. After the massacre, the other Pequot villages attempted to come to their rescue. They saw the smoke, and they immediately started to come towards the fort to see what had happened, because they knew that women and children were there. But they were too late. It was overwhelming for them. You have to understand that this is a moment for the native people that was beyond their comprehension. They never fought wars to wipe out another group. Within a few weeks after the Mystic Massacre, the English began a systematic attempt to hunt down all the surviving Pequots. They wanted to eliminate Pequot leadership.
The English tried to systematically hunt down our people. Watch this. Watch this.
Tired of cold calling? Introducing Lucia, the easiest, most accurate way to prospect. Simply sign up. That's right. Thanksgiving was a celebration. Peace, blessings, and love, family. This is Elder Rasan Shakur out of New Orleans, Louisiana, coming to you with another great and informative video. Peace and blessings.
So I got my grandfather, Frank E. Leggett Jr., is another one of these elders of this nation of peak quotes, not Pequot nation, no. Peak quotes. Do unto others as you would have them do unto you. The meek shall inherit the earth. Peak quotes. When these elders take the battlefield, and when we raining down judgment on our enemies, we letting them know, chapter and verse, from which the judgment is coming. Peak quotes. The 24 elders that sit before the throne day and night. Peak quotes. It is finished. This is who the British tried to take the land from. This is who you Puritans, the so-called U.S. founding fathers, tried to exterminate. So for all of you Europeans lying to yourself that Constitution means something to you, you're the only people who've never ruled the earth, never will, and you don't have a home. That's what's so scary about for the European is they know they don't have the ability to build nations and kingdoms. So if they lose the lie, the narrative that the US is theirs, and they lost every claim in Europe and every claim in so-called Africa, there's nowhere else for them to go. That's what the US, that's why it's so important. It's the last and final attempt at rulership, which will never happen.
Blessings to all the melanated families, mankind. Family, this video gonna be about Thanksgiving and why black people should never celebrate it. That's right. Thanksgiving was a celebration of the genocide of the Pequot Indians, melanated Indians, just like me and you. In 1637, the massacre was led by a general named James Mason, and they committed genocide. The Pequot Indians was in Rhode Island, Connecticut, New Jersey. That's right. And these devils came in.
New Jersey, Connecticut, the whole Northeast. He's from the branch of the family that controlled New Orleans, Texas, Florida, Georgia. But the massacre happened with the branch of the family from New Jersey, my grandfather. While they tried to tell y'all that some Native Americans have reservations and then Europeans have states, this is a further attempt to take our lands. And we ain't having it.
They committed genocide. Just like they committed genocide in New Guinea, New Zealand, Australia, Africa, and everywhere else. One that came on the sweet Jesus. That's right. Went in there and took the land, killed, committed genocide on these indigenous people of America. Not the Asiatic so-called people. Not these $5 Indians. That's right. The Pequot Indian was already here, just like the Seminoles and the Choctaws and the Cherokees and the Iroquois and the Blackfoot, the Navajos, and on and on and on. The Homac, the Incas. Huh. We was already here on this land before European invasion that came from England and France and Spain and Germany and everywhere else. That's right, family. So I don't celebrate no Thanksgiving. And they got information about this, the Pequot massacre of 1637. Just Google it up. And they got a sister. I put a video in my like video. You can go there and check it out. I forgot the sister's name. But if you Google the Pequot massacre of 1637, it'll pop up. That's right. And in the thumbnail, I will show the melanated people. They're going to be in the thumbnail. A lot of them exist today. That's right. And we are here celebrating the genocide of our own people. Thanksgiving. It was their celebration. And after that, Abraham Lincoln made it a law. You know, every Thursday of November, whatever day in November, which would be a Thursday, and there gonna be a lot of our people out there celebrating Thanksgiving and don't know the history, where it comes from. None of our ancestors celebrated Thanksgiving, Christmas, New Year's, 4th of July, or none of that nonsense. All that was put into our psyche from generation to generation, all the way from slavery time up to now. Y'all go check it out. You can Google it. The Pequot massacre of 1637. That's right. And the correct spelling will be in the title.
Just to let y'all know, in the United States of America, there's a group of kings and queens, and we don't need no European to acknowledge our crowns, our authority, our bloodline, or our claims to reparations. We're going to let the plunder speak for itself. We just proven to you that number one, we ain't lose the battle. Number two, our enemies don't get to name who we are.